Now, of course, probably the biggest news, even with the Devontae Adams signing today, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Probably the biggest news of the NFL season so far was the mid-season firing, early season firing of the New York Jets coach, Robert Salah.
Yeah.
And I remember when we talked about it on Filthy Sports, some people said, they should get Bill Belichick. And I said, well, sure, but they'll never get Bill Belichick. There's no way Bill Belichick goes there with that ownership. To which I had a whole bunch of our viewers write into me and say, John, you don't know what you're talking about. Bill Belichick and Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets, get along just fine. He would go there. I'm like, all right, you believe that. Well, last night on Monday Night Football, on the Manning cast, on the Peyton and Eli, Peyton or Peyton?
Peyton.
And Eli cast of the Monday night game, Bill Belichick stopped in. You can see a little screenshot of that here. Had a little discussion, and this conversation came up. Peyton said, it seemed quite early to me to be making a coaching change, Peyton Manning said, to which Bill Belichick said, yeah, well, look, that's kind of what it's been there at the Jets, Belichick responded. They've barely won over 30% of their games in the last 10 years, and the owner being the owner, just ready, fire, aim.
To which they told Bill, oh, Bill, we're actually live right now.
Yeah.
Cameras are hot.
No, Bill,
mics are hot.
Mics are hot. Ready, fire, aim. And the owner being the owner, I laughed my ass off when I heard him say this. And listen, he's not just being mean. I mean, every coach in the NFL knows this. They've got a completely unhinged owner who has consistently lost. Like, look, since he took over, like Belichick's saying in the last 10 years, they barely won over 30%. He's right. Then ever since he took over, the last 24 years, because he took over in 2020.
Yeah.
Leading into the 2024 season, the New York Jets have won 159 games and lost 225 under this owner. In 24 years, they've made the playoffs 6 times. In 24 years. Never made it to the Super Bowl under this owner. And you just have to ask yourself the question about, I quoted this the other day. I was watching Mike Greeny, and he made this great point. He goes, if you have a bad season, maybe you can look at the quarterback. If you have a bad couple of seasons, maybe you look at the coach. But if you've had a bad couple of decades, you got to look at the ownership. The ownership is clearly the problem. And last night, as the Jets played the Buffalo Bills, it was on display again. You went out and got yourself a quarterback that is well past his prime, is now at best an average quarterback. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. You got rid of a defensive genius in your head coach. When defense wasn't the problem of your team, you were ranked second in the league in defense. Offense was your problem. The coach didn't like the offensive coordinator, who was Aaron Rodgers' buddy, and before you know it, the coach has shown the door. So, I mean, it is what it is. But look, Ryan, I'm not surprised to hear Belichick say, I've got issues with the New York Giants coach. Bill Belichick is not exactly a talker.
No.
At least outside of the dressing room. He's not exactly a talker. And he's podcasting now, so I don't know. This is a surprisingly candid Bill Belichick. But you hearing him say this, do you think what he's thinking is probably reflective of a lot of the coaches in the NFL, or do you think this is just confined to him?
I think he definitely has a gripe with them, so I think he kind of probably goes a little overboard, but I do think, it shows, like you said, they haven't had a consistent winning, record in a long time. And this owner seems like he's kind of doing stuff that, is not for the good of the team. So the whole, he was originally supposed to be the Jets coach when Bill Parcells was there.
Wasn't he like a coach for one day?
Yeah, so he was the defensive coordinator, and the agreement was that when Bill Parcells steps down, he would be the coach. But at the same time, the Jets were going through an ownership change. So There was a thing where Parcells might hang around, and then he wanted to have Belichick wanted to have full control, and Patriots were going to give that to him, so he left. So Jets fans were mad, rightfully so. But he was trying to look out for himself. Also, the Jets were the ones that brought up the Patriots are stealing signs.
Right.
Thing.
Yeah.
So that too. So that leads into it. So yeah, I think he definitely has a gripe with them, rightfully so or not, depending on his opinion. But I do think his comments are valid. He also called it that Salah was doing a good job. It just was a slow start. He changed the culture there. He had a tough personality and things were changing, but then the owner stepped in and did something, middle of the season, like we're talking about. 5 games in, that's kind of crazy.
5 games,
So-
especially 5 games in when they were literally their next game was playing for first place in the
Yeah.
and that's what the part. Look, again, I've always said this. I will never sit here and defend and say Robert Salah is a great NFL head coach and he's proven he's a great. I'm not saying that, but when you've suddenly you thrust an Aaron Rodgers in there and you're 5 games in and clearly you needed to make a change at offensive coordinator, and that's what from all reports he was looking at doing.
Yeah.
I'll never understand not letting him get 1 full season with Aaron Rodgers under his belt, but unless there was an issue with Aaron Rodgers, which is what we all speculate.
Yeah. I mean, we think so. They're going to say no, but
Of course, they
everyone's like,
Of course they would.
who's actually running the team was what
Oh
we're
yeah,
deciding.
that's exactly what's going on here. And to me, what this really says is if Bill Belichick is saying this out loud, I think there's going to be a lot of, first of all, there's going to be coaches out there that'll be willing to jump at any coaching position for sure. But I think if Bill Belichick is saying this out loud, there's a lot of NFL caliber coaches that are also thinking it.
Yeah.
And if they get the option between almost any other job or going to the Jets, they're going to take almost any other job. So we'll see how it all turns out. Question is for you guys. What do you think about Belichick's comments? I think they're right on the money. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts.